Hi there, welcome back to the channel. So I'm okay with the drum track. It sounds really good. There's a little bit of push and pull on tempo a couple times throughout the verses, those which is to be expected because I'm not going to play it perfectly on the guitar for starters, and then trying to follow it on the drums. Whatever's wrong, that happens on the drums as well. But I can just play to the drums. I don't think it'll be noticeable. Gives it that realness, that push and pull of, I'm not a mechanical player. I wouldn't be able to ever play like perfectly on beat probably unless I practiced a lot more than I'm practicing right now. So it always has that kind of, push-pull. Okay, so the only thing I've done since then, once I confirmed that I was okay with the drum part, I played along to it. And the only thing I did differently that I've been doing is I've been compressing the snare with like Big Shape or one of the mic settings that you can use, and that would affect the left overhead and that mic because it affects the first two inputs. But I left that off this time, and I think it was a good idea because the snare just sounds more natural, less like kind of crunch and more like tone, like less compression, less manipulation of the sound. I used to think I needed that, and now I'm starting to rethink it because I think these drums sound better than the last than any of the set of drums I've recorded. It might be the best sounding drums I've been able to pull off so far, but I'll let you decide that. But anyway, the only thing that I've done to the tracks is I connect the USB cable that comes with the Zoom. It has like a kind of proprietary end, that weird kind of small box end on one side, and then the usual USB side goes to your computer. I've got to use an adapter now for the new Mac, but that's an old Mac. And then you go over here to USB. You punch the USB button. Once you've connected, you look for reader, scroll down, hit reader, and now you're going to see the icon on your laptop or computer, whatever you're using, desktop. And I open that icon, and then I use Audacity, and all I do, it'll say something like mono 000 to mono 005, and because I have or I guess it goes up to 6 because I have 4 drum tracks. I have the initial guide track that I record, and then I record another one where you can hear my voice, so I go 1, 2, 3, or whatever cues. So there was 6 tracks on here. Mono 00 was the guide track. Mono 001 was the other guide track where I talk. Then we have mono 002, 3, 4, and 5. Those are the drums. So I just take each one, like mono 2 is the snare drum, drag it in, and all I'm doing these days is I just make sure the levels are good. Levels are perfect on the snare. So the only thing I did then was I went to classic filters and cut it down to 20 hertz. Did a high pass on it, and I stopped at 20 because the human ear can't hear much lower than that or at all. We're like 20 to 20 on a good day, when we're young. You start losing your top end as you get older. But that 20 hertz is a good cutoff point, and I just do that. And it cleans up anything underneath that would start building up on the track, or building up on the song. And so on the left overhead, I amplified it a little bit because I wasn't using the compression. That one was a little less volume than usual, so I went up 3 dB on that one. And on the first, I go boom. I had to bring the first one down on the right overhead, I guess because that's pointed right at the bass drum. So I brought that down about 3 dB and then brought the rest of it up about 3 dB. So that's the only thing I did besides amplifying the 2 overhead mics. Didn't have to do it with the snare, didn't have to do it with the bass drum. But the 2 overhead mics, I went up 3 dB and adjusted the first shot because it was a little peak. It was getting close to peaking. And if I had elevated that to 3 dB, the first bass drum would have been distorted. So, no big thing, you just go in there. And then I just export the track, drag it into the icon here, so it's sitting with the audio. I go to the audio folder, drag all the tracks back in. Now this is the thing that I started doing. It's 4 drum tracks, right? You've got your snare drum, left overhead, right overhead, bass drum. Well, what I do is after I done my little business with them in Audacity and got them where I want them to be, I title it, it'll be snare drum L, like for left. Drag it into the Zoom's disk, let it load, then retitle it snare drum right, or snare drum R. Drag that in. So now I have two snare drums. They're the same thing, it's just a copy, but now I've got two of them. Do the same thing with each track. So instead of having 4 drum tracks, I have 8 drum tracks. And all that really does is just double it up a little bit. I've tried to do it on Audacity ahead of time, and it just causes distortion. Like, we combine 2 tracks, it's just too much. And then it was too much fighting to try to get it, forget that. This worked great. I actually remember reading this on the Zoom forum. I don't know if that still exists, but back in the day somebody suggested doing that for drums, or for any instrument that needs a little more. So I do that with drums. I do it with vocals. The guitar I don't do it because I've already got set up for guitar since the drums went well, and I'll use 2 mics, so you get that kind of stereo split if you want it. Bass guitar I don't usually double, but the vocals I will for sure. So that gets around kind of the non-robustness of these preamps. And you have 24 tracks, so it's not like you're going to run out of tracks doing it. I only usually record 4 drum tracks, usually 4 guitar tracks, that'll be 8, 4 vocals, that'll be 12, and then 4 more miscellaneous this and that. So it's usually right at 16. That's how we used to always do it before. You go and record 16 tracks on a 2-inch tape. It's better fidelity. So 16 tracks is really all I've ever needed. Now, if I had a lot of instrumentation or a bunch of other members and that kind of thing, it all depends on what kind of music you're making it to. This is just simple rock. All right, so now placing the tracks. That's kind of interesting. So what we do is we're going to hit the track button. We're going to go to 1724. You make sure because that's the row I want to put it in. And then I'm going to go to the take file. You'll see that it says snare drum left. You just hit enter, and then you could move to the next one. You go through the same process. You hit enter, snare drum right this time. So now I have 2 snare drums accounted for. And then you just move over, and same thing here. I'm going to end up, wait, what did I just do? So, okay, that's fine. Left overhead, left, that goes on track 19. And then hit enter, same thing. You're going to go over to track 20, and you find the take, left overhead, right, bring that in, same deal. And on you go until you get to your right. You have to go searching for that. You have to go past, if it's in alphabetical order, so you have to race past the M's to get to the R's. You have right overhead, left wave, and then the next track, which is 22, same idea, right overhead, right or R. And then all that's left is these 2 bass drums. You got bass drum left, that's going to be in track 23. Go through and get that out. Bass drum right, same deal. All you have to do, and once again, you hit enter, you find the track, hit enter again, and you will now see that track sitting, you'll see the title of it sitting in that track space. So that's quite easy to place the tracks. Now, going back to those original tracks, I'm going to hit the front row. When I hit track, I'll hit the front row. Now I'm at 1 through 8. I'm going to leave those 2 guide tracks that were in 7 and 8. Mono 00 and Mono 001, but I'm going to scroll over here to Mono 002 in track 1. I'll hit file again on that one, and this time I'm going to go up to new take. Go to track 2, same idea. Good old new take. Track 3, same idea. Because I don't want these playing as well. These are now the original drum tracks, easily retrievable if you want to go back to those tracks to work on them instead of, you don't want to return to the, once you've worked on a track, if you don't like it and things aren't going well and you want to go back into Audacity and do some more post-production, I would then go back to the original drum track. That's why I keep those. Plus, if I ever want to remix and master, all the original unadulterated tracks are sitting there. So that's kind of cool. Okay, now, next step. I want to play it back for you. For those that are watching the channel, I would like to play this back. So I'm going to put all the faders kind of like right down the middle, like, you know, below 0. And I'm going to pull my master way down, like pull that red master, you know, all the way back. Now, I'm going to go to Effect, hit, turn that on, and we're going to go to the algorithm mastering. Just make it sound better, you know, like while we're doing this. Why not always make it sound better? I'm not going to worry about the patch. I'll just leave it because I like the plus alpha patch. Then I'm going to get an input screen, and we're going to turn that until you see the words mastering. It'll be after track 23 and 24, the same master. Edit. Okay, I'm going to go in. I'm going to make the highs. Those are going to be 5. The mid's going to be 5. The low's going to be 5. That's important because it's way too much lows on this alpha. 202. I'll just 205. Hell, I'll just make it all 5. Let's rock it. Because, you know, it's drums. Okay, normalizer, gain, 0. I don't like that. I don't want to add that. This could be 202. Usually it's pretty good. But I'm going to 555 it. Make everything 5 here. Dimension, that's off. ZNR, I turn that to 0. The patch level is 24. That's fine. If you need it to be louder, you can go up or down. Okay, now, keep that red fader down. You don't want to crank it up yet because it's going to be loud. You could be wearing headphones, or you don't want to blow up your coaxial speaker that I have here in this little PVKB3, which is not a great piece of kit, but it's come in handy to have around. Okay. I'm going to hit start and we'll see. You won't. I'll leave that voice on that says 1, 2, 3, but everything else will just be drums. Here we go.
1, 2, 3.
And the cymbal carried on pretty nicely. All right, so I like that. And I'm glad that I don't know if you can tell, there's a little bit more air and a little more ass in the snare. And I like the way the snare and the bass drum sound equal. That was the goal. I didn't want the bass drum to sound less or like not as forward as the snare, you know, and they're both very demonstrative. So mission accomplished. Oh, and the other thing I did is I connected out the left, this cable directly to the input on this amp. So and I could take another one and go to this and we'd have a stereo thing. I'll do that next time when we're actually, I'll start doing that on the final track mixing and mastering so we can get the stereo spread, because I'll have these, the drums not so much, I won't have those split out, but the guitars, you know, and sometimes the vocal, they'll do, you know, stuff happening on left or right, panning, and you can't do that when you play it back in mono. Okay, so yeah, I'm pretty happy. I feel like the tone of that, the playing was, you know, B or whatever. I'm not going to ever blow minds with the playing. You know, hopefully in the future I can get better. But the tonal quality of it, and it's serviceable, you know, for me to build my track on it. So I'm going to call it a success, and feel like I'm getting better at recording drums. All right, thank you very much for watching. Next time, friends.